Hi guys, it's Aoife from Words of Clover and I'm here to do a tag video today. I wanted to do the book addiction tag because I saw a couple of my favourite booktubers doing it. I really loved the questions and I am going to go straight on into it now because I think it's a great tag. I will leave the original tag owner if I can find them down below, and I'll also leave a link to a few of the booktubers who I have seen do this tag as well and who I've really enjoyed. So the first question with this tag is, what is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? And for me this is like not a lot of time at all. It's probably a day, and to be honest, it always depends on how busy I am, if I'm doing something specific where I just don't have the time to pick up a book, but generally I will always find a point in my day at some point where I can sit down and read a little bit, even if it's only for like half an hour before I go to sleep at night. I'm definitely the type of person that I will come in really late at night from like a night out or something, and I will still make myself a cup of tea and maybe read for 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes before I fall asleep, just because it's what I really love to do, and it's kind of a routine I've gotten myself into, that before I go to sleep I will always read a little bit. I definitely prefer to be like reading my book or my Kindle instead of looking at a computer screen or a phone screen before I fall asleep, and I definitely find it's the best way to make myself feel kind of sleepy and for my brain to slowly kind of start to switch off in a really nice way as well. Question number 2 is, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device, at any one time? So I generally always have a physical book on the go. Well, I guess I will always have a book on my go, either a physical book or a book on my Kindle, and then I always have kind of a few books lined up on my mobile for like both ebooks from my library app and also audiobooks from my library app. So normally I'm always reading one book and one audiobook, and that book is either a physical book or a book on my Kindle. Question number 3 is, do you keep every book you buy or receive, or are you happy to pass them on and to make space for more? I'm really good at not keeping the books if I don't really love them. If I don't think I'm going to reread a book again, I will generally always put it straight onto a pile. I always have a pile on the go. I always have a pile on the go of books I want to donate to charity shops or give to people like in my family. There's only like specific circumstances where I would keep a book that I didn't absolutely love on my bookshelves, and that's generally just really aesthetic reasons, and it's if I really love the book cover. It's only books that I haven't read yet or books that I've really loved and will probably reread again that I keep on my shelves. Question number 4 is, how long do you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? And for me, I say maybe the shortest amount of time would be 15 to 30 minutes. It kind of depends on if I'm just kind of going through the shop on my way to somewhere else, if I'm just kind of browsing through, or if I'm looking for something specific. Sometimes I can be in a rush and I really specifically know exactly what I'm looking for when I go in there, so I might go straight to that shelf where I know that book is, take it, go to the counter and pay, and that's it. Where other times I really just love a little bit of a browse. There are definitely certain bookstores that I would browse more in. There's particular books in Dublin kind of like bigger and have a really large selection. Like if I go into Chapters in Dublin, like I could be in there for an hour because I just absolutely lose myself when I'm in that bookshop because I love it so much. And there's like the new book, there's like a new section, there's a whole used book section. It is just a treasure trove of amazing books with really great prices as well. So I always like to spend a lot of time in that bookstore, but for kind of the general smaller ones that tend to be near me, I could be in there for slightly less time. Question number 5 is, how much time per day do you actually spend reading? Now I feel like I've actually been reading less since COVID and since I've been working from home, because I used to do so much reading on my commute and I'm really missing that at the moment. I'm really like, my reading has slowed down a lot. I'm not reading as much as I normally do because I don't have that dedicated time that I would always read. At the moment now on my lunch breaks I'm either kind of going out for a walk, or I'm doing an exercise video, or I'm trying to move myself in some way. Some lunch times I also like to bake or to make like soups and stuff like that. And during that time I generally will be listening to like a podcast or something rather than a audiobook. Where when I'm doing my walks, I try and read my audiobooks or my podcast. It kind of depends. I kind of switch week to week on what I will be listening to. So at the moment I say it's 1 to 2 hours a day, and that used to be, I say, like 3 to 4 hours a day, where now it's probably about 1 to 2 hours a day, sometimes possibly even less than that. So I definitely need to pick that up again and try and read a little bit more because it's what I love to do. Though I think now with the weather probably getting a little bit worse when it comes into winter, I might be stuck inside more, which means that I'll probably be reading more, which is a good thing. Question number 6 is, where does the task picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? I've tried to be getting myself into a habit of waking up a little bit earlier so I can do that reading before I switch on to work, the way I used to do it, as I said, on my commute if I was on the train into work. But that doesn't work that well all the time because I'm a real bedhead. I love just staying in bed and I just love sleeping, so I have a really hard time waking up quite early in the morning. And as I said, lunchtime tends to be now is a little bit different as well, where I tend to be kind of doing different things and I don't always sit down and actually read, and I find it a little bit harder to do so lately, which is so strange because I always used to be a really great lunchtime reader. So now it's actually generally the end of the day where I'm sitting down to read, whether it's after work, a little bit time before dinner, or as I said, right before I go to sleep. That tends to be the times where I'm picking up a book, or else I'm listening to an audiobook on my daily walk at some point during the day. Question 7 is, how many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? And including ebooks, I say it's like maybe like 300 books or something. I'm not sure how many physical books I have, probably between 300 and 400, because I think I have about like 200 on my Kindle, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but god, that is a lot of books. Question number 8 is, approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? And for me, it's probably like all the time. When I actually used to like see people and have conversations with them, I would often talk about the books I'm reading. People know that I like books, so they'd often ask what I was reading, if there are any books that I've read recently that I loved that I would recommend. So books do tend to come up in conversation a lot because people know what I do and they know what I love and they know that's what I love to talk about. And then again, people love to talk about books that they've been reading because they know that I will always be receptive to that type of conversation as well. So yeah, it definitely comes up a lot in conversation. Question number 9 is, what is the biggest book page count you have finished reading? And for me, I actually don't know that off the top of my head, but I think it might have been one of the Outlander books, because some of the later, like I think I've read the first 4 Outlander books and I feel like one of them was over 1,000 pages, so I think it might have been that one. Question number 10 is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds, like search the bookstore, online digging, stalked author, etc.? Now, don't stalk authors, because I don't think that's right, but I can't think of a book that I've been like absolutely desperate that I had to get. Like a lot of the books that I've been very lucky that books that I've wanted to get, I've been able to find either in bookstores or online, or I've been able to order them in like somewhere. A book recently called 32 Words for Field, Lost Words of the Irish Landscape by McCon McGann, and this is a non-fiction book about the Irish language, and it seemed really interesting. And when I first heard about it, I was looking up to see if I could get it some places, and nowhere seemed to be selling it yet. And then I went into my local bookstore a few weeks later, and it happened to be like on near the cash register. I don't think they'd put it out on the shelves yet, and I happened to get it there, so that was really great. So that was a book that I had been searching for and I couldn't find, but then it just ended up falling into my lap in like a lovely way. So yeah, I have that, and I will be reading that soon, either in non-fiction November or closer to the Irish Readathon. Question number 11 is there a book you struggled to finish because you refused to DNF it? And one of the only ones I can think of is a non-fiction book I read last year for non-fiction November called The Brothers York, and this is all around kind of like the War of the Lancasters, the Cousins War, and the war between King Richard III and, you know, the lost princes of the Tower, and this type of kind of era in history where these York brothers were kind of on the throne and just coming into the reign of Henry VII. This is a kind of era that I really love to read about. I love fiction novels set around this time, like Philippa Gregory's The White Queen, The Red Queen, and The Kingmaker's Daughter. They're all like really great books that I really love to read, and I really want to reread them soon. So it's kind of like this era history that I feel like I kind of know a little bit about because I've read a lot of books set around this time. I've always been used to getting my information about this time and about these kings and about the kind of political controversy at the time. I've been used to getting that through like fictional form and through descriptions and things happening in the characters' lives. So The Brothers York was the first kind of non-fiction book I've read around this time, and while it was really interesting and it was about something that I really wanted to know lots about, it was quite dry and quite long. It was a long chunky book, and I was reading it on my Kindle as well, and I definitely prefer longer books in physical format. I think it's because I can really see where I am in the book, where it's obviously harder to do that in Kindle form. I definitely prefer longer books in like where I can hold them and feel the chunkiness of them and see the pages I've read and see how much pages I've left. And I just honestly felt like I was reading that book forever, and I just felt like it would never finish, and it ended up being like, I think one of the only books I read for non-fiction November when I'd had plans to read so many other ones. It was the only one I got through because that one took me so long. Now granted, there was a lot of things going on during when I was reading that as well that weren't particularly a positive thing in my life at the time. There was kind of going through there was like just so many different things going on that I had to deal with, and it definitely kind of maybe, when I think of that book, I'm also thinking about that time, so it's not a particularly like pleasant reading experience for me for a lot of different reasons. But I just didn't want to DNF it because I did find the topic interesting and I just really wanted to finish it. So yeah, that's definitely one that I struggled to DNF, and I didn't DNF it in the end, but maybe I should have, I don't know. Number 12 was, what are 3 of your main book goals for 2020, or I guess 2021? And I don't really do a lot of book goals. I think at the moment everyone's goals, particularly with everything that's been going on this year, is to try and really read more diversely, read more books with POC characters, by POC authors, by diverse authors in the queer community, and that is definitely something I'm thinking of a lot more as well, and I'm trying to incorporate into my reading. I could definitely be doing a lot better, as can everyone. So that is definitely something that I am, particularly going into next year, I will be thinking about a lot more when I'm thinking about not only like what I want to read, but things like for the Irish Readathon, and maybe how we can set our challenges to really kind of encourage people to read more diversely as well. That's definitely something that's kind of on my mind. One of my goals for this year as well was to kind of relax my reading, not feel so focused on reading like a huge amount of books every year, because the year before that, in 2019, I felt a lot of pressure to finish that and I didn't really like it. And this year has definitely been a lot more relaxed, and it's been a lot more fun that way. I think as well that I've been doing this year that is kind of exciting, and it's definitely something I'll be doing next year as well, is that on Revolut I've done a particular vault. So I've done like a reading vault, and for every book I finish I donate €1 to that reading vault, and that money that I collect over the year will go towards books I can buy next year. So at the moment I've read, I think, like 119 books, which means I have €119 to spend on books next year. So that is definitely something that I'll be doing next year. And again, it's only €1 a book, so you can kind of like add it up slowly. You don't have to add it in all at once if you don't have the money lying around, but it's definitely something, €1 here, €1 there, that you don't really miss too much when you don't have it in your actual like account, but it builds up, and then you have loads of money to spend on books next year. So I've really enjoyed doing that, and I've really enjoyed seeing that kind of increase, and to get excited about all the books I could buy next year with that money. So that is something that I've been doing, and yeah, I really like it. Number 13 is, have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader by inspiration or your incessant nagging? For me, it would definitely be incessant nagging. I feel like there are people in my life who I've really kind of thrust books upon to try and get them to read, and people who maybe were readers or who fell out of reading, and then I've given them some books and they've been able to really enjoy those books then for the time they are able to spend on those books reading. So I've really enjoyed that, and I really think about it, really makes it fun to think about the books I can gift to people, particularly coming into like birthdays and Christmases and stuff now, and what books I can give to them that they can enjoy in a specific period of time. I know that they will be free and not have so much work to do and be able to read. There are definitely some people like in my life that I know who, when they know that I read so many books, it kind of inspires them to maybe read a little bit more, or in things like where I talk about how much I enjoy audiobooks now, people are more inspired to pick up audiobooks and give them a try. And I know people who have really who have done that, who've told me they've done that because they were inspired by me. So yeah, I've definitely had that privilege, and it's always really nice to hear that you are encouraging more people to read. And then the last question is to describe what books mean to you in 5 words. I have some here, which is friends. So books are my friends. Books create friends. I've been able to create friends through booktube because of books as well. Educators, books I think are one of the best educators out there. They are the best resources for learning more about the world, learning more about different people, learning more about different people's experiences, but being able to like travel when you can't, like during this pandemic year, and people haven't been able to travel, but we can travel through so many different worlds in our books, and that is just such an amazing thing. Companionship kind of goes into friendship, but again, those times when you're feeling a little bit lost, books are just such a lovely companion to have. The 4th word I have is solace. So I think books, yeah, give me a lot of solace. They are just there for me all the time. And then the last word is imagination. Books are just such an amazing thing for your imagination, especially if you start reading as a child. I think it just opens you up to so much imagination and lets you use your imagination and continue to use your imagination as an adult, and I love that, and I think it's amazing. So that is the book addiction tag. I think this is such a great tag, and I had such a fun time answering all these questions. I hope you guys enjoyed my answers. Please leave any comments down below, and if you do want to do this tag, I officially tag you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.